The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bit by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there, and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is Andre Mayat, your podcast host. Big thanks to Luca the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers, and big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again. Today is a first episode of 2025, and the first episode of Season 6 of the Graphic Histories Podcast. We've been going quite a while here at the show. This will be the start of 5 years now, actually, as I began this in 2020. And yeah, it's been a great run, and it's been a lot of fun, and yeah, some great conversations, great talks, and the train's keeping on and rolling. We're rolling on down that track. Today's guest is Meghan Hetrick, who is a really cool artist, doing some recently a lot of alternate covers, beautiful work, not even alternate, just regular covers. She's doing some amazing work, a beautiful artist, and quite a story. So as we get into it, the layers peel back, and you get some of her troubled upbringing, and how she fell on being the lovely person she is today. And there's some hilarious. She has a boxer who makes an appearance throughout the episode. She has several boxers, but there's one that makes an appearance throughout our chat a few times. And there's a couple times where the boxer's just sitting on the edge of the frame, staring off camera somewhere else. And it's a very interesting. You won't be able to see it probably because I know it's going to show up in any of our videos that we use to promote the show. But it's adorable pup. And yeah, great conversation. Like I said, Meghan's got quite a story, and we kind of hit all the points, and I think we get a good roundabout insight into her life and her journey up to this point, and it's quite a story. So I told her in the interview she's got to write an autobiography someday, and yeah, let's. I want to read it, Meghan. So if you're listening, get that autobiography written. I want to hear it. I want to read it. Yeah. So, yeah, welcome to 2025. Hopefully you had a wonderful New Year's and a great Christmas. I'm pre-recording this as I'm trying to go enjoy that stuff myself. And, yeah, so I did not get a chance to, if the world blew up at the end of the year, I guess you're listening to this in a, post-apocalyptic wasteland. Maybe you're getting ready to spray silver in your mouth and jump on your hell buggy to ride across the desert and attack Mad Max. If that's the case, I appreciate you taking some time out to listen to the episode before you get on to your murdering and your pillaging and all that good stuff you get to do in the aftermath of the apocalypse. So enjoy. Hopefully I'm still alive out there somewhere. Hopefully some band of rebels has made me their king, and I'm hopefully sitting on a throne of bone somewhere, really just living it up, So let's hope that's what's going on. Anyway, let's get to my conversation with my next guest, Meghan Hetrick.
Hello.
Hey,
can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you? There we go. Let me get the volume up on this thing.
Oh, I can yell if you want.
No. It's on my side. I had everything set because I typically have it going through my. I'm sitting in my living room and I have surround sound, so I typically have it going through surround sound, and I just defaulted to this. And I'm just like, whatever, fuck it.
That's a clever way to do it. Actually, I like that. Kind of like have the room that's echoing around you while you're doing the interview.
So with me doing a lot of gaming art lately, I got myself a gigantic OLED TV. It was like my Christmas gift to myself 2 years ago. But
Beautiful.
it's worked, but because of that, I sit in here for everything. It's like having a theater, basically.
That's fantastic. Oh man, it's been a dream of mine to have a theater room in my house. I haven't been able to convince my wife to give up her office so that I could have that, but yeah.
Well,
I don't want to give up mine, so.
This isn't a theater room. This is my living room. It's like,
but it feels like one.
Right into it.
That's awesome. I love your Don't Panic tattoo. I just noticed on your wrist. That's awesome.
Thank you. I got it. not have this plan. I got it the day after Trump got elected the first time.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. That
I'm
seems
like,
like
well,
just sound
that's fitting.
advice. Yeah.
So the funniest thing is typically I have an Apple Watch on, so it
Uh-huh.
just has panic on there most of the time. So I'm like, well, that works. That works. That's probably more fitting for me. So
That's great. If someone ever asks you advice, you can just casually point to it and just
yeah,
be like,
pick
panic.
one.
Just panic. Yeah. Oh, I think that's pretty sad. I'm a huge fan of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I always
Yes,
say it's my
same,
favorite book.
same.
So it's high. It's high. So yes, you are an American. You're in the States.
hmm
Georgia, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, just outside Atlanta, about 20, 25 miles outside Atlanta.
Ah,
So
that's like where every TV show ever is being filmed now.
currently, it definitely
Yeah.
seems like it. Every time if I have to leave the house, which I mean, I work from home, I don't do it very
Yeah.
often, but every time I leave the house, I see the little signs everywhere. And right now, I'm surrounded by Superman signs. I'm like,
Oh, right. They're filming that there.
I'm like, which Superman is here? And I'm like, well, shit, I guess
Oh,
we'll have.
yeah. It's probably the TV show, I'd assume. I
It's
don't know if
gotta
they'd
be.
film the
It's
movie
gotta
there.
be. I can't think of anything unless Gunn is working on stuff early, I guess. I don't
Well, the
know.
trailer comes out tomorrow, I think, for his movie, so I'm assuming it's shot. Unless they're doing
Maybe,
reshoots or something.
possibly, but yeah, they're super. I mean, typically they don't use like a Superman logo for a Superman movie. Usually it's like some sort of code through
Right.
it. But obviously, it's got to be something DC
Yeah.
related through
Well, that's
here.
cool.
So,
I
but
just a lot of shows I watch have that little Georgia Peach show up at the end, and so I know Walking Dead was there forever.
Walking Dead was here. Walking Dead was south of me in Sonoya. If you watched Doom Patrol at all, that
Oh
was
yeah.
my town.
Oh
So
cool.
that was the town that it was filmed in. Same with like the what the hell was it? The originals, the Vampire Diary thing.
Oh
Spin.
yeah, yeah.
So that was filmed here in Conyers. So I'm in Conyers.
Yeah.
That was filmed here, but yeah, it's just there's a lot around here.
I do a little bit of acting as well, and I'm in Canada in Nova Scotia. So
Okay,
they do film quite a few things here. A lot of like Stephen King adaptations because it's cheaper
that
to
makes
film
sense.
here. And Maine is just below us, and we look
Right.
exactly the same. Like I just did background on the Institute, which is based on his one of his new books and newer books. And then there's a show called From on Paramount. That's a big show right now. It's like a horror movie.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yep.
they filmed that here as well. So
Nice.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm very familiar with driving around and seeing the signs because often I have
Yeah,
to
well, then you
find.
know exactly because I'll say that to somebody and they're like, "What?"
Yeah,
I'm like, Never mind. I guess they don't live in a film area."
yeah. Usually I have to find them, so I got to follow them to get to where I got to go to be on set or whatever.
Yes.
So are you from Georgia originally? Is that where you're born?
No, I was born in Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania, moved to Buffalo,
Okay.
was there for, elementary to a little bit of middle school, and then came back to Pennsylvania. And then after I got divorced in 2000, what the hell was it, 13? And I
Hmm.
just literally threw a dart at the map and ended up in Atlanta. But
Interesting.
at that point in time, I had two big dogs and two cats and
Hmm.
single illustrator income. Atlanta was actually affordable at that point.
Hmm.
Not anymore.
No, no. Well, it's lucky you didn't have kids in tow. I mean, that's a tough trip too.
That's right. I think I
Yeah.
would have had an easier time with kids than I would have with two big dogs,
Yeah,
but
fair enough. Finding an apartment is probably rough when you have pets, I imagine.
right. I ended up having to, I had a roommate and just rented a house. So we fell
Yeah.
into it. I had the best realtor friend on the planet and he found a house for us to rent. So I'm like,
Oh,
thank you.
gorgeous.
Granted, it was in, I'm sure you probably don't know the area around here, but it was in
Sketchy neighborhood.
it's in a very nice neighborhood in a very sketchy area.
Oh, so you're like the riffraff in the neighborhood, are you? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I could have just had a big ass target on my head because here I am. I'm like driving like, it's a very southern area and I had a big ass Hemi Magnum
Oh,
station wagon at that point in time. And that thing got broken into like every other week.
Oh God.
At one point, I got so fed up. I got woken up in the middle of the night by the alarm going off. And now, mind you, I didn't keep anything good in it
Hmm.
because of how many times it was broken into. But this was when I was a decade younger and in extremely, extremely good shape.
Hmm.
And I had just gotten, I was in training for my second degree black belt. So I
Oh
had
well.
my nunchucks and everything hanging by the door. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh
My
man.
car alarm went off. I had just gotten my cat back in from being lost outside for 2 days. I was
Oh.
exhausted and fed up. So I ran outside in a tank top and a pair of underwear, wielding these goddamn nunchucks like frickin' Bruce Lee, chasing kids down the street away from
I would
cars.
have loved to have seen that. Like just as a neighbor to look out your window to just see like this woman just beating the hell out of like
Oh my
teenagers
God. I said that
and
to a
nunchucks.
couple friends about a year ago, and they're like, Megan, you realize you're probably an urban legend now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
probably.
Those guys are probably like in their 20s now and they're like, "Hey, remember when that woman chased us with nunchucks?" That's hilarious. You'll
I
you'll
see a
be you'll
white
be a
chick
story
chasing.
for their year. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, white chick with nunchucks running down the street at us. That's amazing.
That
Oh
was the
wow.
point where I'm like, maybe we should move. Maybe it's time to move.
Well, that or you can just use it to like constantly, like one of those martial artists that are constantly training always all the time. Just use it,
Oh God, Dad,
just
no.
just be
I
waiting by the door for your chance to hone your skills by beating the crap out of some
Weibo
teenagers.
power activate. Yes,
Yeah. It'd be amazing if like that'd be the last thing you'd expect, some kid breaking into a car at 2 in the morning, just have some woman like do a drop kick off the edge of her stepper and take you and your friends out while throw ninja stars and nunchucks and like be amazing.
I'm laughing because it was like a white wife beater. Obviously, I need no matter, but
Yeah.
I had at that point in hair, my hair was blonde and pink,
Hmm.
covered in tattoos, and I'm chasing these kids down the street. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I'm probably
That's awesome. Well, you could have used it. This could have been the origin of your superhero story. You could be like
right.
the
Right. No,
neighborhood.
that's a supervillain origin right
That's
there.
true. You're like the neighborhood or like legend about the woman, the nunchuck woman that comes out and protects the
Right,
neighborhood cars at
right.
night. Just the change in your dash is safe when I'm around.
No car alarm will matter.
That's right. Just like you're sitting on the roof perch waiting to hear a car alarm.
I am Batman. No.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh.
Well, were comics always something? Like was that something you discovered as a kid?
Yeah, so I mean the sob story is that my mom had issues and she was drunk quite a bit. So
Hmm.
they used to sell the comics in the spinner racks in the liquor stores right
Oh.
by it. So I when she would go in and get her liquor, I would sneak in a couple comics. And then it just got to like anytime she'd go out, obviously I had to go with her. So I would just get comic books like that. And from that, I fell into this was early 90s. So
Hmm.
I fell into the X-Men animated
Mm.
show.
Oh,
And then
yes.
it's kind of the original one. I haven't watched this one too
Oh,
many
really?
parts
It's
yet.
quite
Yeah.
good. It's quite good.
I I'm kind of like, I don't know. Do I want to watch it and spoil the original for me? Like,
I don't think it will. But
no?
I
Okay.
think it's funny because I do another podcast with the gentleman, the person who reached out to you initially, Davin, where we watched that show. We watched every episode and kind of reviewed it.
Mm.
Called X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show. So yeah, I keep up the title and I love it, but we get a little flack from it occasionally. So the we did the new one as well, and it's really that show is we like I was born in '85. I assume we're close to the same age.
Yeah, I'm 83. Yep.
Oh yeah, so like that show was designed. The new version of the show was designed for us. It's designed for the
Okay.
people that grew up watching the show and are now adults. Like
Okay.
they scale up the emotion and the stakes to a level that really seems pertinent to us, and also
Okay.
kind of like meld in a lot of things that have come over the years in X-Men comics into that
Okay.
continuity. So like they're kind of like taking stories from later on, like Grant Morrison's run does play into it, and a few other ones do too. I'm a
Okay.
huge Morrison fan, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, it definitely serves the original source material, but definitely, I would hesitate to call it a kid show. I know technically it could be, but it's pretty like it's pretty serious and pretty dark, and there's a lot of stuff in it that would like really go over kids' heads.
Okay, no, I'll check it out then. Like I said, it's been one of those like God. I did watch the original one again not too long ago, probably about a year and a half, two
Yeah,
years ago.
that's not perfect. It's got some
And that's I'm
episodes
like
that,
I watched it and I'm like it's not. I'm an adult now. I'm in my 40s. Like
yeah,
it's not great, but
yeah,
I've also had a lifetime of
yeah,
experience since then. So it's just like okay, we'll just put this over here on the file of like this was nice. It
yeah,
was nice to revisit this. So I don't know. Like I said, that's the whole reason why I haven't watched the 97. I also
yeah.
don't subscribe to Disney
Well,
Plus.
there's that too. But it's quite good. I would suggest it.
Okay, no, I'll
Yeah,
definitely check it out.
but
But no, like so I fell into just to answer your question, wrap
yeah,
that up real quick. I fell into comics just by doing that, but I never actually wanted to draw comics.
really.
I wanted to be an animator for Disney. And
That's it. Like that, everybody I talk to, and I'm the same way because I'm a graphic designer. But
okay,
I've done some comics and stuff in the past, just indie things I've done for fun. I'm kind of working on something new now. But the yeah, every like when you're a kid and you're drawing, almost, and so many people that I talk to that are artists, it's almost the same story. Like everybody's like, you should be an animator for Disney. 'Cause that's all they can think would be something that would probably make you a lot of money in
hmm
drawing. And if
yeah.
you ask animators from Disney, I'm sure they would say no,
Well, that's
especially.
I had the full ride scholarship to go out to like Cogswell Polytech, all of it. I had all of it set up and ready to go, and then life happened. But that's also when Disney shut down most of
Right.
the studios and stuff too. So I graduated in 2001, so like everything crashed, not just the towers.
So
So
you had stuff in place to go to animation school and all that, really? And just
yeah,
wow.
yeah, everything just happened, and just 2001 hit, and I don't think I need to say much more about that.
Yeah,
But
fair enough.
because I was living in when I was in Pennsylvania. Who the God damn it! I had this thing on mute, and so
Oh,
sorry if
it's
you hear.
I can't hear anything, so
Okay,
yeah.
good, good, good. No, I graduated 2001, but I lived about an hour and a half outside of New York City.
Hmm.
So when everything happened, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And so just like I wasn't in any sort of headspace to really kind of go and proceed towards that. And then also my I had a complete and total computer failure, so I lost everything. So I
Jesus.
lost all my portfolio pieces, I lost all of it. So it's just
Wow.
like awesome. So I delayed that until things settled again, and then I got it the scholarship a second time. So
How did you swing that?
they really wanted me to go there, and
Oh,
then my mom ended up in prison, and I had to take care of my brother
okay.
ended up going with my grandparents, and I had to take care of the house, so I had to work full time to be able to pay for the house.
So your mom's issues, I guess, were persistent through your entire childhood.
Yeah,
Your dad's like,
yeah. So we're
I,
good now. She's on the straight and narrow now, but and I mean she's a great mother now.
yes.
But I mean it that's kind of the story of my life right there.
Oh,
Why didn't you
well,
go to school? Well,
yeah. Well, that's a pretty solid reason.
um,
What did she go to? If I'm asked, what did she go to prison for?
drunk driving.
Ah,
So lots and lots and lots of alcohol.
yeah.
So I was engaged to a prison guard at the time, and I was in a small town,
That worked
and
at the prison that your mom went to? Oh my God.
mhm,
Oh my God.
when
This
she
is like
got
a
pulled,
Netflix show.
it is
Yeah.
definitely something like you can edit this out if you want to.
No, no, no. This is great. I mean, I just want to get to know you as a person, and this is all part of your story, right?
When
So,
she got pulled over, they're like, Megan, what do you want us to do with her? Meaning, like, do you want us to let her go? And I'm like, throw the book at her.
yeah, that's how you
Throw
learn.
the book at her. She should have been legally dead
Oh,
with the blood alcohol content. But what got me is that it was the middle of, I think, February,
mhm.
and she had my then 3-year-old brother in the back seat with no winter clothes on, no
Oh,
shoes,
wow.
not buckled in, and she had an open jug of blackberry brandy on the front seat of her car, and she hit a truck at a stoplight.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't think you were going to stop at the fucking stoplight.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
what the big red light means. Um,
Jesus.
but yeah, so that is that right there. So that I worked at GameStop. That's why I've got 400 goddamn video games in here.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's like 27 systems and almost 400 games. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's
But
great.
I am finally going back to school.
Oh,
I started this past October. So finally getting all that
wow.
wrapped up.
Well, I mean, kudos to stepping up and looking after your brother in that situation. That's
It's
tough.
well, my grandparents were still alive at that point, so they took my brother because I was 21,
Yeah, it's not a
barely.
great time to become an impromptu mom.
No,
You know? Yeah.
no. Oh, and I was having to work full time, like more
Mm.
than full time. So I was holding down two or three jobs. Can't remember which, just to pay for the apartment.
Yeah.
So it was just like
Wow.
art at that point in my life was not part of it. So
Yeah. Well, I can see why that would take a back seat. I assume
yeah,
your
yeah.
father wasn't around? Or...
My dad died in 1986.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and so he died when I was pretty young.
Was he what did he pass away from?
AIDS.
Oh, wow, man, this is are you writing a biography by any chance? Because
No, no,
this
I don't typically talk about this stuff. So it's
oh well,
like,
I don't want to pry any more than you're willing to
no,
talk
you're
about. But
fine. You're fine.
all
Like
right.
if somebody asks me,
Yeah.
I'm open about it. But no, he died in 1986 from AIDS. So
Mm.
that was a formative experience.
Well, you would have been what, like two?
I was 3,
Three,
but I
yeah.
still remember it. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Trauma.
So was the alcoholism like your mom's way of dealing with that, or is that
Yeah,
yeah, okay?
yeah.
Wow.
So not a real solid support system in terms of coping that she had
Yes.
around her.
Well, was that like a I mean, I don't hazard a guess what the relationship was like, but I assume you know, contracting AIDS in the 80s was had a lot of stigma that came along with it, right? So,
Yes, yeah, there was a whole lot of trauma that came
mm,
along with that. And like the fact that she even managed to get through it
mm,
with mostly mentally intact is incredible. So my
yeah,
mom is genuinely awesome.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's good.
it's just she got dealt a hand of shit.
Mm,
So like we had I mean she had to deal with funeral homes who wouldn't touch the bodies
mm,
because of the scare. Like they thought he was just going to contaminate everything. And
wow.
then we found out recently, and I'm talking recently within the past year and a half, exactly how he contracted it. So that
Oh,
has changed everything
oh.
right there.
Did somebody
Because
come out of the woodwork or?
no, well, found out he was screwing hookers and lot
Uh,
lizards at, truck stops.
yeah.
So, yeah, lied to my mom left, right, up and
Well,
down
what was
about
his
it.
explanation for contracting it at the time?
Just that he got shot in Vietnam. He was a Vietnam vet, and that he
Okay.
got shot and had like a faulty blood transfusion or some shit like that.
Uh,
Turned out to be complete bullshit.
yeah.
So I grew up 40 years thinking that my dad was this sort of hero, and it turns out no, he's actually a piece of shit. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I assume your mom didn't contract it, so there's a luck there.
no,
Yeah,
she's
so
fine. Obviously, I'm fine. So yeah,
yes.
it's like, but yeah, she was. Whoo! I cannot imagine the emotions that that woman
Yeah,
went in.
that's horrible.
Right.
You know, like that's a
Light topic today, right?
this is definitely one of the more interesting get into life stories I've heard in the last little while, which is great. You know, most artists and everybody's story is unique in their own way, and I really dig talking to people, which is why I do this sort of thing, especially about comics and nerdy stuff, passion. But most people's like, I was an artist as a kid. Mom and dad wanted me to be a doctor, but I ended up being a comic artist. So it's kind of refreshing to get something a little
No,
different.
no, no. My grandmother wanted me. So when I was 14, I was taken from my mom and lived
Mm.
with my grandparents, who were both Marines.
Oh wow.
So that was not the most conducive environment for
Well, they must have been
art.
fairly, I mean, hard on your mom's lifestyle, I guess, because
Yes, yeah.
being
Like they
Marines are
were
incredibly
not.
regimented, so
Yes,
and
and I
disciplined.
mean they enabled her quite a bit, and that's 99% of the problem right
Really.
there. They just anytime she got in trouble, they bailed her out, and
Mm.
so that's why when she got in trouble and I had the choice, I'm like, no, Ma, you're going to jail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you say you're in a good place now, so hopefully she was able to,
It took a
recognize
little
that it
bit
was what
longer
was needed.
after that to kind of come to the straight and narrow, but no, she's on solid ground now.
Good.
Oh, she's
Well, that's
she's
lovely.
been great for the past number of well, over a decade at this point.
Oh
So
yeah, it must be nice. I mean, family's hard, like
family
regardless,
sucks.
even if it's like the textbook Leave It to Beaver family, there's still something, like you
Yes, yes,
whenever anybody idolizes anybody else, I'm like, you really don't know. You don't know what people look at you and think how great you are, like your life
right,
is, and you don't
right,
know what in the same way you don't know what other people's are, so you can't assume anything.
right,
But it must be
right.
interesting to have a somewhat combative relationship early on and then eventually like see that person become healthy and get to reevaluate and revisit that and find new ground because it's a very
It's
heartwarming tale.
it is like it's hard. We still have our moments. Like we're
Oh
still
yeah,
mother
she's
and
still your
daughter. We're
mom.
still
I mean,
gonna have our
yeah,
moments. But it's a lot of like it took me a long time to come to terms with it, and
yeah,
it's really a lot of like that's when I knew when I was an adult when I could look at her and go like, you know what, you tried, you did your best. Like
yeah,
you did not have what you needed to thrive
hmm,
and to cope.
yeah,
So you tried to find your own manner of coping, and
yeah,
my mom is incredibly intelligent.
yeah,
So it's also she's got that side of things going on as well, where it's just
yeah,
like she's fucking smart, dude. And it's just like she was always beaten down for being as smart as she is. So she just used the alcohol to cope.
yeah. I mean,
So
I think people that are, I mean, there's different levels of intelligence. There's, but like I feel like with the intellectual intelligence comes a level of like emotional intelligence that like sometimes that things are a little heavier on people, and like
yeah.
especially in a time period like that where it's not like mental health was well discussed. You don't,
Hmm.
even today it's still like great, but at least you can say to someone, I'm having a tough time mentally, and they can not just
Right.
immediately judge you as like you're having a breakdown or something.
Right.
um so like in a world where it's not easy to discuss your problems, and you have a lot of trauma from all this other stuff and you have to deal with it, it's you can see why someone would turn to something like that. It's like
Right.
self-medicating in a way, right?
Right. That's
Turn it
exactly what it
off.
was.
Yeah,
So
turn
she
it off.
couldn't get the actual medical help that she needed. She didn't have the support system for friends or family that she needed. So she just did what she could.
Yeah,
And that's like, it took a good long while for me to realize, like, no, she did what she could.
yeah,
So it's just like, once I kind of got to that point, I made a lot of peace with
yeah.
it.
That's
Now
good.
I love her to death.
Yeah.
She's my mom.
That 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 I think that's a good measuring stick about when anybody becomes an adult. Like when they realize that. I remember like when you're a kid, you think your parents have it all figured out. They seem like, I don't have any children, but your parents seem like they know what's going on. They have a handle on the world. And then when you hit around the age they were, when you realize that they had you and were doing stuff, and you're like, oh, you
Yep.
guys didn't know shit. You were just trying to
Right.
figure it out like the rest of us. And
Right.
even then, like all you had was probably your mom and maybe your sisters or brothers or whatever to like give you tips or help with raising kids or whatever. But you're like the internet wasn't a thing for us. Like you couldn't just go on and be
That's
like, my kid's acting
internet
this
for
way. What
me
does it mean?
was 94.
Yeah.
So it was God, what was that? Like 36K baud that
Yeah.
we had. So doing the AOL dial up.
I
But
ICQ chat and
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But yes, no, it's like my brother is 16 years younger than me. So it
Right. Yeah.
was only really me,
Mhm.
growing up. I pretty much grew up an only child. So it's
So
just
was his dad around?
his dad is another story
Ah,
entirely.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
won't get into
if you're
that
deep
on here.
into what it sounds like your mom was into, I mean, obviously you're probably going to be in situations and meet other people that are probably in a similar place in life that are probably not the best for.
Yeah, his dad was not a good person, and his dad is the reason why I was taken from my mom.
Oh,
So I'll leave it there.
okay. I'm very sorry to hear that too.
If you ever wonder why I went into art, it was a coping mechanism for
Well, I
myself.
was going to ask that. It sounds like maybe like mentioning looking at the comics that your mom was buying alcohol, that like that would like that's an escape, right? I mean, that's a world to get
That's
to.
exactly it right there. And my
Yeah.
first freaking comic book ever was the last issue of the Legacy Virus. So,
Oh, come on. What? Oh my God.
oh my God.
You're just
Like,
watching a big allegory for AIDS at the same time? Like that's insane. That's nuts. Wow.
we're just starting off hard and heavy.
Yeah. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, but that's kind of how I fell into all of that. But yeah, no, I never wanted to really. I read comics as an escape, as you
Mhm.
said, but no, my whole goal was to be an animator. Like Disney
Really?
was my love. Gargoyles, Gargoyles was my love.
Really?
Um, Yeah.
That's a great. If you have to lock on as a kid to an animated show, I mean,
That's I mean
for me, it was probably Batman the animated series and Gargoyles, but I didn't get to see Gargoyles as much. I only had a couple channels. I grew up in a
that
pretty
yeah,
rural
yeah,
area, so yeah. So like, I don't think Gargoyles was on it, but Batman was, and that was my grab.
yeah.
But Gargoyles was like, as I watched it later in life, it's a fantastic show. It's
It's
really really good.
fantastic. Yeah, no, Gargoyles was my introduction to Shakespeare.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Gateway drug to Shakespeare.
It's pretty
And
much just like the
classic.
cast of the Next Generation doing,
Yes, that's
modern
what I was going to say.
Shakespeare.
So it was my gateway drug into Shakespeare and Star Trek. So
Yeah, yeah. It's a good way. That's a good entry point for sure.
opened up a whole world for
Yeah.
me.
Well, I remember early on they had that episode where Broadway like shot
Yes.
what's her name? I can't remember her character's name.
Eliza. Yep.
Elisa, yeah. I used to have the comics actually, like the adaptation comics, which I
Hmm.
read more than I saw the show as when I was younger. And yeah, that sort of informed a lot of it to me. But I remember just seeing that episode and being like, oh, this is even as a kid, you
For
know.
1994, that was heavy.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was a heavy subject in
Yep.
1994. So,
Especially for like a cartoon. Like I remember
yes,
like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had their gun episode, and like
of everybody
Family
did.
Matters
Yeah.
did too, right? Those are shows I was watching. So it was like in a live action format, you get it, but then when you see it in like, an animated show, it's like, oh, it's like infecting the kids stuff too, which is,
Yep.
but
Yep.
that's like the time to do it, you want to
Yes.
inform them of that stuff young. So that's what led you into animation. Interesting.
Yep.
Very
And
cool.
that's when I realized after, like, I always doodled comic book stuff,
Mm.
but it was always, I was a Mortal Kombat nut.
Oh yeah.
Mortal Kombat and Gargoyles. And so I don't know if you remember the Mortal Kombat Conquest show.
Oh
I
yes.
love that. So it's just like I would draw video game characters. So I was always heavier into gaming,
Hmm.
gaming especially, and then animation and stuff like that. Comics were just kind of like on the side
Mm.
for it. So I don't think people need to hear my mom voice kicking in.
No, I think that would be very, it's very informing as to who you are as a person, yelling at your dogs.
Oh, she's in there. She has to go tomorrow. That's why I had to do the interview today. She has to go tomorrow to see if she's having puppies. So she's
Oh,
all hormonal right now, and she's chewing on her paws. So I can sit here and see her chewing and you're like chewing on her paw while
oh.
looking at me dead in the eyes. You son of a
What type of dog?
boxers. I have four of them.
Oh my God, those are
Yeah, I
huge.
got four boxers. That's
Lovely.
everybody's just like if everybody needs a hobby, and
Mhm.
apparently my hobby is my full-time job, so I needed a different hobby. So I got
Mhm.
into dogs,
Mhm.
dogs and cars. So,
Oh, really? Wow, it's a good combo. I love dogs. I
so
don't have any. I have cats, but
that I've got those two.
oh, I see. Hello.
Oh, is he? Come on, Boo. You going to say hi? There we go.
Oh my God, they're huge. He's
He's
huge.
he's a big boy. The
Yeah.
girls are locked up. But
Oh,
right,
yeah.
buddy, come here.
Hello. He's just like, what's up?
That's yeah, nosiest damn dog I'll ever have in my life.
My one of my cats generally comes to visit me when I do these. He sits on my feet on the floor. He's not right now, but he'll probably be here soon enough.
That's well, you'll have this here for a bit because
Oh,
he
that's all
wants to
right.
go outside, and this is his way of requesting.
Well, it's very nice. It's better than barking and
It's
scratching and all the other stuff.
beautiful
Yeah.
out today. It's like 72 out today. So
Really?
I'm not sure. Yeah. So it's
Well,
absolutely
you're in the south, so you guys get
yeah.
I'm like New York weather is what we get here basically. So
This is a fluke still even for here.
really.
It's way too damn hot for me here for right
Ah,
now.
yeah. It's
But
usually like this time of year. It usually fluctuates between like well, I'm a different scale than you for temperature,
right,
but like a -1, -2 to like 5.
right,
So
right.
this generally where it is at this time of year. Generally, like February is the coldest month, and that's
Hmm.
usually -10. But
That's I'm used to well, Buffalo gets the Ontario style weather, so I'm
yeah, yeah.
thinking colder than that will be fine.
We're
But
actually it's funny because we're a little warmer than there. I think it's because we're on the coast, so like like Alberta's usually the worst for us, like
right.
Calgary, because that's like right in the center, and it's like right in the like pretty far north too,
Mhm.
depending what area you're in. But where we are, it's like we get like I think it's like the Gulf Stream or whatever. It tends to go up the
Okay,
coast.
so it stays a little warmer for you.
Yeah, for the most part. But there are like anywhere, there are frigid days. It's usually like
Of
one
course.
solid like -20, feels like -30. With
Right, right.
like week in February, maybe. That's about
That's,
it.
we had, believe like surprisingly, we had that here not too long ago. Well, this past February,
Hmm.
but I had to pick up my youngest puppy in Pennsylvania, and it was my first time back in a number of years, but especially my first time back in winter
Oh, yes.
in a decade. And it was here, hold on. Hey
Yeah.
Google, -16 Fahrenheit is how many degrees Celsius?
The answer is approximately -26.667 degrees
There you go.
Celsius.
Yep. Pretty cold. It's pretty
And
cold.
it was just like that was straight temperature. That was not the wind chill. And
Yeah.
I got out and I have this little 8-week-old puppy that I'm trying to get to go
Oh,
to the bathroom.
yeah.
Yes.
In
Oh
the
my God, I'm
frigid
sorry.
temperature.
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
no, let's not do this again. We're fine.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Well, when did the art start happening? Like when were you?
Art started happening probably like I had drawn
Yeah.
forever, but serious art started happening probably mid no, hold on, let me math here. Late 2000s.
Hmm.
I want to say like 2008. I started with sketch cards.
Hmm.
So I started doing
Just go
that
to
sort of stuff.
conventions and like
Yep,
sell
yep.
sketchcards.
So the little trading card things. So I started with sketch cards and just kind of steamrolled that, I guess. And then again, just kind of dicking around with stuff. I never really did comics. Like I read them, of course. I knew
Hmm.
the format and everything. But actually doing comics, I just did a couple like I did a short story for a company that never took off, but that was my only indie experience.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
how did that one come about? Was it just like on the internet or?
Just on the internet. He was another sketch card artist,
Oh,
and
okay.
then he just decided that he wanted to do a comic, and we just kind of went from there, and it just never really took off,
Hmm.
which is in hindsight a very good thing.
Yeah.
But no, I actually comics and stuff started because I did a boob tutorial.
Okay. Now you might have to walk me through what that was, what that
I
is.
did a how to draw boobs tutorial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you can Google it, just search it up if you want to. But
Well, like you just made a video
essentially,
for the internet, or is this like,
it was an infographic of how to draw boobs,
uh-huh.
and
Like,
it went everywhere. And it was
was it
just
because you were giving sound advice instead of like what
we
cartoon
sound
boobs?
advice in a humorous manner,
Okay.
and
Oh, that's good.
it was just me being me and just
Yeah.
me being flying off the cuff, basically. So it was a between that and um I was a smartass on Twitter to Bill Willingham.
Oh, really? What were you a smart ass about?
I don't even remember. Just me being me. And he he looked at my portfolio based off that and then like showed my portfolio to Shelley Bond.
Mhm.
So within the span of a week, I got hit up twice by the two different sides of DC
Oh, wow.
without any
Wow.
communication between the two. So it's like two separate. It's give me 1 second.
Yeah,
Somebody
sure.
is messaging me, and I'm going to there. Um. Okay, where did Zoom just go? Okay, so yeah, no, it was two separate sides of DC hit me up at the same, literally the same time. It was July of 2013.
Wow.
So the boob tutorial got me an interview for Batman stuff, and that's where Joker's daughter came from. And then the Bill Willingham thing came from or turned into Fairest.
Oh, yes. Oh, really? Oh, right. Of
Yep,
course.
the
Yeah.
Fairest and all the land trade.
Right.
So that in the Goldilocks book. I actually started the Goldilocks story first, and then there was like a 4 month break while waiting for the rest of the script, and then it turned. She gave me work to work on
So
the
was
trade.
your like was all of this new to you when you started getting into comics off of
Yeah.
this stuff? Like, cause yeah, okay. So it's like really trial by fire. Like,
Yes.
what were the editors like and stuff? Because were you coming at it with like the appropriate perspective and all the stuff they look for already? Like, was that something just
Yeah, basically.
wow?
So Shelly paired me with I think it was Taylor Esposito.
Hmm.
I believe he was helping me initially with some of the layouts. Like I came through with the layouts, but she had a very tight control of how she wanted the book to look.
Mm.
So I followed her with that and Taylor's layouts and stuff. And then she paired me up with Peter Gross for a little
Mm.
bit. And Peter did the layouts for like 2 issues. And then I think the third, he's just like, you got this here.
Yeah.
And just handed it back off to me.
Wow.
So,
That's insane.
but yeah, no,
That's quite a
everything.
story.
It's just like I coming from the background of knowing animation
Yeah.
and things like that, and not knowing how to do animation, but just the different shots and how to
Mm.
establish things, and then reading comics like I did, just became like osmosis
Yeah.
for. So it's
Well,
just
it
like
makes
different,
sense if you're surrounded by it constantly. It's
right,
like, they said I can't remember what writer had said, but it's like if you want to shit good, you got to eat good, right? So like
right.
if you're constantly you want to write good books, you should be reading good books. You always kind of want to like bring it in, um, and that sort of informs, and also like I'm a big fan of watching. I watch a lot of movies, so I'm a big
Mhm.
movie guy. So I like watching all of the special features, and it's almost like going to film school itself. So comics can kind of
Yes.
be the same way. Like if you're paying attention to that and you're following the guys and you're watching what they're doing and you check out the art books and stuff, then it can inform you. It's
It
funny that like even the little things that they need to tweak, it didn't take you long before you had that too.
That's, I mean, the thing that I struggled with the most. So when I was doing the sketch cards, I basically set them up like comic book panels.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's
That
one of
makes
the
sense.
reasons why I became very good with sketch cards is that I wouldn't do just a straight on shot. I'd have action, I'd have a turned camera, I'd have dynamic perspective. So, going from that, and I mean, I'm drawing them on this big.
Yeah.
So,
You're
it's
basically
like
doing thumbnails already.
yes. So, that's really kind of how it turned out with, or how it grew from there. It's like I understood how to change camera angles and stuff, and then for me watching films and especially playing video games,
Mm.
so knowing just the different cinematic angles and such, it just naturally translated and correlated really well to comics.
Wow.
So I don't think I have a typical, because of that background, I don't have a typical storytelling style.
No,
Like I have
even
a much
your
more direct
yeah.
storytelling style
Well,
than
even just
many.
glancing at you're kind of a chameleon a little bit in a way, like just glancing at some of your work, like you can definitely tell they're the same artist, but the levels of from cartoonish to, more realistic and everywhere in between. It's really unique. Like there's a lot of variation into what you put out, which is really cool.
If I'm taking over a couple issues from another artist, I try to match their style so it's not so jarring.
Mm.
So like I don't,
That's very respectful of you, and also kind of interested, like of the fandom as well. Like people reading.
I don't, I'm not going to basically shit over somebody else's work. Like
Yeah.
it's still going to look like me. It's still going to have my storytelling style, but
Hmm.
I'm going to try and make this as seamless because I hated that so much when I would be reading a
Yeah.
story and you'd
Yeah.
be like, who the fuck? Why are these first pages this way and like these remaining pages like it broke my brain. It's
It's
just like,
even
well,
worse now because you'll get it in the middle of comics. It'll be like two issues drawn by one guy and then two pages drawn by someone else, and it's very jarring
right. And
sometimes.
that's I was just like, I can't do that. So I try my best to match what I can. But if I'm starting off fresh with my own thing, like the Red Thorn stuff was all me from the get-go.
Hmm.
So that's when you get more of my style. Granted, I had to streamline it because I'm drawing goddamn Glasgow. So I don't need to draw every damn brick in the city, which I did for a couple issues. But if you notice, towards the end of it, I just went, nah.
Start getting real ethereal with your backgrounds,
Right,
Yeah.
black.
Yeah. That's funny.
But no, it's if I'm doing like a licensed thing, or not a licensed thing, but like yeah, I guess it would be like the Ruby books and stuff like that. Like if I went in looking like my typical style artwork
Hmm.
for Ruby, it's not gonna look right. So it's just like, okay, well, we'll we'll figure out a good balance here. But it's also that's the animation and the gaming background making. I never want to stand out. I want my storytelling to stand out, but I don't want my art to be jarring to people coming in.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the video game, how much of an influence it was, because you can see a bit of that in the like. I'm just like I've gone through a bit of your stuff for chat to you, and I'm just kind of glancing through it as we're talking now. And the King of Atlantis Aquaman stuff is like some of those are like the funnest video game box art for a video game that doesn't exist, I guess, but they're gorgeous, like super
That
fun.
was a fun project. That was
Yeah.
a lot of fun on that one. But that's actually also what I'm going back to school for now. So I'm finally chasing that dream. So
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah.
Wow,
So
that's very cool.
maybe
Well,
stepping outside comics in a couple years once I get my degree and kind of moving towards that side. So
well, I mean, I think it probably gives you a lot of the footwork. A lot of that's probably done doing comics as far as getting into the
except for these
animation side
goddamn
of things.
English comp courses.
Oh,
They're kicking my ass.
yeah.
Like I'm 41 years old. Why do you need me to write what my summer vacation was like? Like I haven't had
Is
a
that
summer
still what it
vacation.
is, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Like really? I
You
haven't had
have a summer vacation? You're an adult with a job. Like,
23 years. I haven't had a goddamn summer vacation. And you want me to, okay, how's my summer vacation? What summer vacation? The end. Like,
maybe this is your opportunity to have like a meet, pray, love, or eat, pray, love style, getaway through Europe.
God, with 4 dogs. Yeah, that'll
Mm.
go over. I'm sure the Airbnbs will love me on that one. But
Yeah.
my God, it's just like I'm reading these things, and they're not short essays. They're 800 to 1,300 words each of researched academic essays.
Wow.
I'm tired. I've written 4 in the past 2 weeks. I'm tired.
Wow. That's wild.
So, but yeah, once I get that crap out of the way, yeah, I'll have a leg up. They have me in an illustration course. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I really need to do the illustration
Yeah. I guess for the sake
intro to
of
drawing course.
justifying their job, I guess they have to, but that's got to
Everybody
be
that didn't
that's
work
got
with
to
has a
suck for
job.
everybody else there. You come in with your portfolio and decades of work in the comic industry, and they're just like, here's all my illustration.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My current course is an intro to Photoshop. And I'm like,
Oh,
really? Well, so I'm in English comp and like intro to graphic design just to fill out the stupid thing on there, and it's Illustrator, InDesign, or intro to graphic design using Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign.
I hate
And
InDesign.
I'm like, guys, the only thing I'm not familiar with here is InDesign. So
Just the lamest of the two. I'm more of a Corel person for vector art, but I do use Photoshop pretty
I
regularly.
use Clip Studio for vector art.
Yeah, that's one that comes up every once in a while too.
Yeah,
But
I use Clip Studio for damn near everything at this point,
I
but
hope the second syllabus is on how to draw cartoon boobs. I mean, I think if that
that
could
would be
you can
quite
just bring your
convenient. Be
course.
like, gotcha. I can cite myself. Thank you.
Not to get hung up on that, but was it mostly like out of a frustration for how ridiculous they're
Yes,
normally drawn? Okay, that's what I would assume.
that's
Because
exactly what it was.
yeah, they
And
don't seem to behave like regular ones do in comics. That's for
no,
sure.
no. And that was just like when a girl lays down, they disappear into her armpits.
Yes.
That's like they don't stay upright looking at you.
Mm. Not if they're normal. No.
No, not natural. And that was my whole thing. It was like this is for natural,
Yeah, of
not
course.
not silicone or
I
anything
guess we
like
have
that.
to assume that every single superwoman or character with or female superhero had breast surgery,
That's
breast implants.
I think at this point, Emma Frost is the only one that's actually been confirmed to
Right.
have.
Yes. Yes.
So that's one of the reasons why I enjoy drawing Emma.
You got to eschew the natural. That's funny. Well, it makes sense with a character like hers, right? To
Right. I'm like, you think that girl isn't going to be the first in line for a BBL? You're wrong.
yeah. Well, what came after the work on like with Willingham must have been really cool to collaborate with.
Yeah, yeah. No, he
I,
was cool to collaborate with.
I have a lot
And
of
then
respect for him after that whole thing that came out a few years ago, where he was just like trying to make Fables public domain because of how DC was treating him, and I was like respect, if it's like he basically was like, I'm sick of how you guys keep trying to screw me out of royalties, so I'm gonna get rid of them. Like,
it's the same thing done with Alan Moore. So it's,
yeah,
I
well,
mean, that's an off-camera conversation there.
oh, that's fine. I mean, yeah. Alan Moore, like I remember I talked to someone in the comic industry who's no longer with us. It wasn't on the show, just a dude I used to know, Darwin Cook. He used to live out here,
Mhm.
and I remember we were kind of talking about it one time. And he just said like, Alan Moore made a bad deal, and he just can't get over it. Like, the deal he made initially is the deal that is what is in place, but he took the quick money instead of the long-term money, and now
But
it's
there is no long-term money at
not
this
anymore.
point.
It doesn't seem to be, no.
That's really what it comes
Yeah,
down to.
yeah.
So I guess I can't really go too much into that because
No,
I
no, sorry.
work for 'em, but
Yeah,
I mean, DC, this is just me being honest here.
yeah,
DC treated me very well.
yeah.
So DC's been very, very cool to work with.
Well, there's a lot of sides to it. What is
Yeah,
the
and that's kind of where it comes down to is read the goddamn contract.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
can't read it, hand it off to somebody who can.
yeah,
You can fight for what you want in your contract, and either one of the parties has the ability to go, nah,
yeah,
don't like it.
yeah.
But that's what I think that's the missing port.
The port, important
Part.
port.
I was gonna say either part or portion, and it just came out together.
Yeah,
That's the missing part of a lot of artists and creators in the industry is that they
yeah,
don't take time to learn business.
yeah. Well,
And
most artistic types don't want to. That's why they do art. They don't want to do business.
I
But
mean, I'm in
it's
my own sort
unfortunate.
of little trouble with stupid shit just because, I mean, frankly, the industry doesn't pay.
Yeah.
So it's just like that I'm not going to shock or knock any boats over with
No, I don't think
discussing
that's
that.
new. That's a headline or anything.
Right. Like newsflash, comic artists say they aren't paid enough. Go
Yeah.
fucking figure.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's so interesting in the insanity of like the new world where like, somebody works on a comic and makes, like I always kind of use as an example, Ed Brubaker making the Winter Soldier. Like, he didn't create Bucky, but he created
right,
all the things that make Bucky cool and why people like him
right,
now. But because
right,
he didn't create Bucky, he's not going to get any money for the Winter Soldier or any of that stuff from the movies or the Thunderbolts movie or the 1,000 movies he's in or all the cool stuff. Like, it's just it's sort of wild how these arbitrary lines are sort of drawn on what is deserving of royalties, what isn't. But you're right, it is in the contract. But when you're playing in a sandbox with established characters, I get why there's it seems like a lot of people tend to head out towards, create their own territory as soon as they can, because then, you know, you get to you get to take it all to get all of it, not have to deal with that. Oh, he definitely wants attention.
I assist you, sir.
It's
Lay down.
okay.
Oh my god.
It's all good.
Lay down. 85-pound horse. Lay down.
That's right. It's okay. No worries. It's mostly
But
audio.
no,
on this
that's
one.
really it. And yeah, that really describes a lot of why people do go to the creator owned. But I mean, the pages and the pay rates can stay low for as many times as everybody apparently always wants to draw Batman or
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
if you say no to that, they'll go okay and move on to the next person that will draw for $15 a page. Like,
Yeah.
it's where is your ground to fight on that? There's
Yeah.
not. Oh, and I'm not holding it against companies on that. I'm just it is what it is in
Yeah.
that space. Like, if you want to make it in comics, you have to have something that sets you apart. Sorry. But yeah, it's like you've got to be able to have your own voice or look or whatever within the industry. So I
Yeah.
mean, my ticket is that I can still paint. I can
Yeah.
still draw traditionally. Like, it's not comics but pay me, it's commissions.
Mm.
So, and that's just where I luck out on that front. Buddy, you're gonna get put on the floor.
Well, do you find that like the like, because I noticed you do quite a bit of covers too, right? So,
Yes, yeah.
and like that, is that a more lucrative idea because at least then there's like prints and further art that can go, or at least you can sell the prints, or
You can't sell the prints
oh,
legally.
right, I suppose not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not technically you can't sell the prints. So no, on that
I always
side. You
find
can
that
sell
funny
your
because you go to cons and you'll see like lots of stuff that's. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, I'm not
yeah.
gonna. I go to cons and draw Spider-Man for people too. So it's like, whatever. But don't sue me, Marvel, please.
Right,
But
right. Yeah,
but
no, like
it's. I remember one time I went to a convention. I think it was Tom. I don't want to put him on the spot. He was drawing Agent Venom at the time when it first came out, and
okay.
Tom Fowler. And
Okay.
he had like stacks of pages for sale. And I remember looking through them and they were pages for issues that hadn't come out yet. And I was like, oh, and he goes, shh. I was like, okay.
No, I mean
I'm not
you
going
do
to
what you
fault
gotta
anyone
do.
for making money. Yeah, you got to.
Right. At a certain point, you just got to do what you got to do. But I mean, the covers are nice. Like if it's a big cover, like an Emma cover or something, I'll
Mhm.
do that traditionally, and
Yep.
then I'll sell the original art for that. But most of my stuff is digital
Yeah.
at this point for a lot of it because I can shit it out.
It's so
Like
fast. It's so fast.
it's
I always thought I'd be a traditionalist too until I got an iPad Pro and I got the stick and I got Procreate and I just played with it for a little bit and I'm like, oh my
mhm.
God. Like
I
literally it
mean,
takes so many steps out. You're just like right to the art.
yes and no for me. So, I because I am so versed in the traditional painting and
Hmm.
such, it's actually quicker for me to paint a piece.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, not oil painting. Oil painting is kicking my ass in terms of waiting for the drying time and
Hmm.
all that. But man, they're pretty.
Yeah, for sure are.
But
Yeah.
like that, I don't know if you could see the newest Emma cover that I did with the checkerboard background on it and all the flowers and everything on it. That took me a shorter amount of time to do than it would have taken me to do digitally.
Oh yes. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So it's quicker for me to do that traditionally and then have the original art to sell than versus going through and doing it digitally.
You must have a bit
Now,
of a following as far as like people buying original art from you, I'd assume.
to a point, it's specific characters.
Yeah.
So not really, but specific characters I have a little bit of a following for. Obviously Emma, and then Phoenix was a big one for a long time.
Really?
I got a lot of requests for Black Cat, and I refuse to draw her.
Really? Why?
Hate her. I don't
Oh,
like her.
really?
I don't like
Just
her.
the
Let
design or
me
just
draw
the character?
Catwoman.
Oh.
Like,
Is it just Black Cat's design that you don't like,
I
or
don't know. It's just something about the character where it's just like all you are is. I mean, up until the knowledge that I knew of her, I stopped following any sort of her antics in like probably a decade and a half ago. So I don't know anything new with her.
Hmm.
But up until that point, to me, she always just came across as like, okay, you're Marvel's version of Catwoman with white hair. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Well, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so over the years but I used to like as a kid, it's always funny to me because, and I'm sure obviously since you did even the course on drawing natural women, that you would understand this. Like as a young person, I never found comics titillating in the way that they
right,
seem to
right.
draw them, you know. Obviously I find women attractive, but it's like seeing an animated cartoon comic woman never really did it for me in a way
Mhm.
that like I could really say like I don't get the appeal of like needing to own some kind of art where it's like crazy cleavage or all the stuff they did like in the early
Right,
90s when they're
right.
doing it. So I remember like when they did the Invisible Woman, they changed her outfit so like the floor was like cut out, and then like and right around that time period with Black Cat in the 90s, like when Mark Bagley was drawing her, and it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't necessarily his version of it, just what the direction was. She always had like this slit that was like all the way down basically to like her belly, that was like obviously if you're fighting with someone in real world, like how would that even be close to practical outfit?
Correct.
So
That's
like
a lot of where I could suspend a lot of
mm,
belief.
yeah.
But at a certain point, as a grown ass woman, I'm
Yeah.
looking at that going like, that's gotta hurt. Like, I know how sweaty that's gotta be. I really hope you have some good goddamn like Gold Bond that you're using because
Well, I just
girl,
wonder who those people like who's buying these comics just to like be turned on by drawings of women. Like I remember
oh,
I worked at a comic store once, like my local comic store. The guy he was going on vacation. He asked if I would work the store for a couple of weeks for him. So I would did. I just worked in the store, and they did other stuff, but mostly it was just selling comics and whatever. So I would sort the comics when they came in, and there's one guy in the store and that always got these Tarot the Black Rose comics,
mhm,
which
mhm.
are I've never heard of them before.
Was it Jim Belant? Belant, I think. Yeah.
That did those? Are they still going? Because it
I,
was
I don't. I think there was a bit of a resurgence. So here's
well, I would flip through them
dirty
and they'd
little
be like,
secret of mine. I haven't read a comic book since before COVID.
"Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You don't need to." Like, but like, I just look at this thing, and it's like a $5 comic this guy buys. That literally is just this woman, and every issue she gets in a fight with someone, her top gets ripped off instantly, and the bad guy spanks her at some point. And I'm like reading this thing, go like, who's like porn and the internet exists. Like, why are you buying $5 Like, are you that dedicated to this really threadbare character?
No, see,
It's weird to me. It always has been strange to me. I've never
I
understood
will
it.
I know a lot of people that are into scenes like that, and that like I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem at all. Obviously,
No,
my
whatever.
body of
Yeah,
work, I
it
have no problem
it
with
can
or
exist. That's fine. It's
erotic
just
and
not for
stuff.
me.
And that's just kind of where I felt like, if you're into that, cool. If you're
Yeah.
not, cool. Like,
Well,
don't hate somebody for it. Like this whole backlash now against like characters wearing skimpy costumes. I'm like, Emma Frost should not be covered head to toe.
no. Well,
Simple as
that's
that.
the
Like, if
character.
there's characters like that, if it suits the character, let them walk around naked. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you gotta do it tastefully.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I settle on it, where it's just like, if you want to do a smut comic, by all means, do a smut comic. Just make sure it's somewhat consensual, like what you're portraying with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like, make sure there's certain lines that are not crossed. Like,
Yeah.
don't get arrested for doing this.
Well, part of the reason I broached that was because I assume you must get some fun, but also
I
odd requests for commissions.
I do. And generally, like, I don't mind them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't publish them and I don't post them
Yeah.
because I do work for Under the Mouse for quite a bit. So
Yeah.
I don't publish a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Like, as long as everything's across the board and, legal,
Yeah.
like, fine.
Yeah, it seems like people piled on Frank Joe a lot for that. And I was like, why does he care? Like he's doing commissions that people
I
ask
mean,
him to
he's
do.
doing
Like,
commissions and they are immaculately drawn.
yeah,
Like,
so
dude is a master artist. Like,
yeah,
leave him
totally. Yeah, leave him alone. That's what I always
You're
say.
gonna
It's like
complain
whatever.
about it, pick up a pencil and draw your own shit. Like that's
Yeah.
really kind of where I come down to it at this point. Like, if you don't like it, do it yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sorry, I don't have much tolerance for that.
No, well, that's an issue that I often talk about with folks that are related to the industry or do mainstream comics like yourself, where you're like, you know, rectifying with the fandom and how
Right.
how that can be, because it's very like you have a community and some of it's very nice, but you also get the terrible shit people out there too,
Yeah.
and
And that's
honestly, history hasn't been kind to women creators too when it comes to some of those assholes as well, so it's got to
I
be
have avoided a huge bit of that. And I don't know if it's just because of my glowing personality, or not, but the worst backlash I had was for fucking Ruby. That fandom is definitely interesting.
really.
And I'm saying that I know that this is getting out there as well. So it's just like there are some very bad apples in that little not anime
Mm.
show fandom, and it's just like, man, you got mad because I drew her hair wrong. Like, don't you have something fucking else better to do, like maybe going outside and touching goddamn grass? Like, hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
So
The
yeah,
hills
like,
people are willing to die on are very interesting to me
and
because like
like I got death threats
really.
because of that. Yes, and that's where I'm talking. Like, there's a level. Like, I am totally fine if you don't like a character design. Cool. Like, if you don't like how a person is drawn, it that's cool. Don't send fucking death threats
No.
over it. If you are at a point where you are so invested into a comic book or a cartoon that you are willing to seriously threaten somebody's life about it, you need some fucking therapy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's your
You're not wrong though. You're 100% right. I mean, honestly, listen, obviously like anybody making content, you don't want to anger your audience, but I've said enough stuff like this before that I'm sure if they were like that, they would have been gone long ago. But it's like, it's true. It's like, in the end, it's like a fiction. It's a fictional character that you derive joy from reading the adventures of or seeing
right,
depicted in whatever manner.
right.
Like at the
And I
end of the
mean,
day, you know,
that's just it right there. And I mean, I do have issues like when it comes to the way companies present characters.
hmm.
So like remember when the Suicide Squad came out and they basically hookerfied Harley for a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where they made her looking like just a little tramp stamp for a
Yeah.
bit. And it's
The
just like,
Air movie went and kept going with it too. So
right,
yeah,
right. And
they didn't
that's
do it
just
any
like I
favors either.
don't agree necessarily in marketing that towards kids. And that they did that for a bit. And it's just like that is where my line gets crossed, where it's
Mm.
just like I'm not going to sit here and be like the sanctity police on
Yeah.
everything. However, you need to discuss and direct your marketing better.
Mm.
Like, if you're going to go through and have this extremely sexualized character, maybe don't use that same character and costume design for, I don't know, 7-year-old Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
Like a 7-year-old does not need to be walking around in Daisy Duke shorts. Like
Yeah.
in idolizing the Harley and Joker relationship. I'm like, yeah,
That's
little
another
crazy
one
there.
of the like and that's something I've talked about before too, where it's like you miss the point of the characters where everybody thinks
Correct.
like,
Correct.
oh, like every time like and the Harley Quinn one's interesting, especially as a nerdy guy. Like I
Right.
go to Comic Cons and I set up and I sell art and I draw people often in their cosplays, and there's a lot of Harley Quinns that come through. But when it's like it's this sort of, or people that post like the Harley Quinn and Joker, that Alex Ross when they're like dancing and like
Right.
and use it to pertain to some like idealistic or ideal for their relationship. It's like they're they're too horribly. I mean, obviously the Joker is sort of beyond just being a crazy person, but they're too horribly broken. Especially Harley Quinn, because like her character is even more sympathetic originally, because it was sort of like desperate for attention and just finding the wrong
Right.
place to get it. Right.
Right. And I mean, a lot of my viewpoints are going to be skewed by my background.
Yeah, of
So
course, of
it's
course.
just like having the abuse in my background. I'm obviously going to look at Harley and Joker and be like, nah, that's fucked. Like,
Yeah. Or like,
no,
cops that idolize the Punisher, or like people that think Rorschach's a cool character. Like it's like,
correct.
did you
Like you
read the
missed
book?
the
Yeah.
point.
He was like, he was like a Ayn Rand kind of base character, but he also was like a racist and a misogynist and like a
Right.
lunatic.
Right. It's just
If
like,
he was in your town, you'd be terrified, not just
right.
'cause, like for any reason, good guy
And
or
that's when
not.
people start going back and they're like, but it's a fictional character. I'm like, I don't care, because obviously at this point, you no longer view them as just a fictional
No.
character.
And Alan Moore would
Like,
tell you Rorschach's a monster. You shouldn't
right.
idolize him. Like the
Right.
people that write these characters would tell you shouldn't idolize these characters.
Right. No, people are going to take it and run with it. I'm guessing that's, just once it's in public, not public domain, but once it's in the world,
Yeah,
people do what they want with it. See also Harry Potter, but
that's
that's
true.
a different conversation. But
Yeah, well, that's its own thing too, especially,
right,
and
that's a 3-hour conversation there.
that's a more interesting side of it when like the creator was kind of getting away from the fandom. That what I mean,
Right,
like the
right,
people were
yeah,
disassociating the fandom from the person that made it now, instead
right.
of the other way around.
Buddy, back
So
up. But no, that's
yeah, he's ready to go.
mother, it is time.
Well, we're pretty much getting there. So, what are you working on some current projects now that you
I
can talk about?
am ish, but I can't talk about them.
Okay.
So not everything is locked under NDA at the
Well,
moment.
what's the
So
last thing you have out there in the world that's available that the public knows about, I guess?
it just covers,
Yeah.
really.
All
Like
right.
just doing covers here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I'm trying to think what the last thing I did was just some Supergirl fill-in issues in the back of Action Comics.
Mhm.
So that's basically it. So I think those are actually just came out.
Oh,
So it's
great.
like 1076 and 1077.
Nice.
But now most of what I'm doing right now are covers and some background stuff. I just did a loading screen for Fortnite.
Oh, that's sweet.
It
Well, that's like
was
like
really
that's
freaking cool to do. But no,
people
for
forget about
comics,
that stuff. Like how cool, like how much art is really everywhere. Like
right.
you need someone to draw the loading screen for Fortnite. Like that's super
That,
cool.
that's just it. So
Yeah.
no, I did loading screens for that, but a lot of, like I said, everything else that I'm doing is currently either unannounced or still under NDA.
Right on.
So unfortunately,
Oh, no, it's
this is like 2 years worth of stuff. So pretty soon there's just going to be a
oh great.
everything
That's
coming
awesome.
out.
That's the best way to have it, because it's like out there fully formed. It's not like just
Right. Oh, but no, aside from that, and nothing interior. Well, yes, I lied. There is one interior project, but nothing that would appeal to like mainstream
Hmm.
superhero style reader stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Well, whatever. I mean, it's all about your work in total,
right.
So,
Right.
and then of course returning to school for animations. That's exciting too. So,
Video games.
oh, video games.
Video
Sorry,
game
video games.
design,
Yeah.
art and design. So gonna learn how to sculpt.
Well,
Trying to
hope-
figure out stuff I can do for when my eyes fail me and my hands start failing me from drawing this shit all the time.
Well, hopefully that InDesign class will really help you on your
Oh my
journey.
God, yes. And my summer vacation course will be extremely relevant. I have to do
Thank God I talked about my summer vacation. I would have never got this job otherwise.
Right. Thank you. I got a 97 out of 100. Awesome. Thanks. Super
It's
relevant.
It's like when you go to some stupid like corporate thing where there's like a team building exercise. You got to build like a tower to marshmallows or something dumb, and you're like, this is just busy work to keep us,
Right. This is the adult equivalent of a pizza party. Like, you can't even have the freaking Scholastic Book Fair anymore. Like, come on now.
That would be cool. Big
I
fan of
would love
Scholastic Book
that
Fair.
as an adult to have a Scholastic Book Fair just like in the middle of a mall. Like, yes.
It's funny that you say that because I just did that here in the town
Did
I
you?
live in. Yeah, so I do work with like I host movie nights and vinyl record nights at a local bar sometimes.
Okay.
And one of the ideas I've had and always wanted to do was have a Scholastic Book Fair for adults. So at the bar we did I called it the Sit-tastic Book Fair. And we had book vendors come in with their tables set up, sell books, sell other stuff, and people would get cocktails or drinks or whatever while they're there and walk around and shop for books, kind of leading up till Christmas. And it was huge. We had a lot of people. I want to do another
Love
one in
that.
April.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
But
I made a little like the flyer for it looked like the little Scholastic book things you would open and like look at because each of the people sent me some of the stuff they were going to bring, so I had it all kind of laid out. It was really cool.
that's freaking cool. I mean, the closest Atlanta's got a lot of cool spots to it, but I live again a little bit outside of the city.
Mhm.
But they have a comic book bar called My
Oh,
Parents' Basement, and it is. I haven't
that's
been there.
awesome.
I haven't been there for a bit, but it
Oh
was
man,
amazing when I was there. They had peanut butter jelly bacon sandwiches.
jeez,
But yeah,
sounds like
it had
heaven.
comic books and a classic arcade in the back with a huge bar. It was awesome. I think it was Avondale Estates, but no, they're
Oh
they're
man,
amazing.
if
If
I'm ever
anybody's
in
listening
if I'm
here
ever in
from the
Georgia,
Atlanta
I'm
area,
going. Yeah,
yes, no, they were cool as shit.
my wife and I went to I think it was on our honeymoon. Must have been that time. We went to Florida, and I remember we went to I think there was a little comic shop, and in the back they had like kind of a secret door that was a little bar that was made to look like like a mad scientist lab, which was really cool. So
That's cool shit.
yeah, it was neat. So I love that sort of stuff. It's the kind of stuff you find in the States in little like weird places, so you don't really get around here as much. But
That's
really
yeah.
cool.
I would imagine everything's kind of a little stricter around you.
No, not necessarily. It's just more like I think
Well, you've only got
obviously.
like 3 months of good weather to get it done in, so
Well, you guys also have like a much bigger population, so there's that too,
right,
right? Like,
right.
so that helps a lot. But
You got to remember Atlanta's also a city of Dragon Con, so there's a lot of fun stuff around the city to do. But yeah, no, if you're ever down here, My Parents' Basement they should still be open. I think they're doing pretty well if I remember correctly.
oh
But
well,
I
man,
hope they are. I hope so.
like running a place
Giving
like
a
that is
shout out
like
to
a
a place that
dream
closed.
project. Yeah, the owner's listening and closed down 5 years ago. He's like,
Damn
oh,
it.
missed my chance. Well, I'll let you go. That dog needs to go for a walk. So
Something. The girls are in here throwing a fit. I don't know if you can hear them in the background,
no,
but they're
not at
all
all.
in there grumbling at me right now.
Oh well, I've taken enough of you from them. So thank you so much for being on the show, Megan. This is awesome.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, well,
Thanks.
have yourself a
good one.
great day. You too. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.
There you have it, my conversation with Meghan Hetrick. Really cool chat. Great conversation with a really cool creator. And yeah, very happy to have her on the show. And yeah, go check out her work. It's beautiful. Beautiful work. And I imagine that there's lots more to come, as she said, that she couldn't talk about. So keep an eye out for that. I'll try to share that on the socials as it comes my way, as I often try to do with previous guests of the show and all that good stuff. So I don't have the next guest lined up. As I mentioned, I pre-recorded all these because I was trying to get out there and enjoy the holiday season. And hopefully I did that. So let's hope that present Andre, which is future Andre right now, is digging life and having a good time. Let's hope that's the case. And I hope you are too. So tune in next week for another fun-filled episode. I'll know who the guest is probably by now in the real world, but I'll have that posted on social media. So thanks again for tuning in. Welcome to a brand new season, Season 6, 2025. Let's get at it. The Graphic Histories Podcast is a proud partner of the United Federation of Podcasts.